The seas and oceans of the world are a dangerous place, and I'm not talking about killer waves or deadly currents. Hi, I'm Larry, and on today's episode, we take a look at these 19 mythical creatures of the seas that scared plenty of people into permanently staying on dry land. Let's start with a creature that reigns terror in Japan. The kappa, which in Japanese translates to river child, is described as being a humanoid creature as big as a child with scaly skin and webbed hands and feet and smelling like fish. Kappas like to play pranks. Sometimes they're just looking up women's kimonos. Other times, they drown people and animals, kidnapping children and raping women. Apparently, their favorite food is cucumber, although they occasionally like to eat human flesh and blood. The Leviathan is a huge sea monster referenced in the Hebrew Bible, presented as an example of the power of God. The Leviathan of the sea and the Behemoth of the land are two chaos monsters bigger than any creature alive that can only be controlled by God. They're a sort of divine pets. God alone created them, and God alone can destroy them. At the ends of time, these giant monsters will bring the apocalypse upon the world. In Scotland, unlucky people are sometimes abducted by the Fen folk, a race of shape-shifting creatures of the sea. They live in a huge palace deep underwater with massive crystal halls and gardens of multicolored seaweed. The Fen folk can control the storms and the sea, and they use sorcery and the dark arts to ensnare and capture people and take them back to their underwater home to be their spouse and eternal slave. The Fen folk really like silver and shiny things. It is said that to escape abduction, you should throw silver coins away from yourself to distract the Fen folk. Not even the Intuits can escape the monsters of the sea. Rising from the frozen depths of the Arctic shores, the Kalupalik come to abduct people, children especially. They lurk the shores and grab anybody not paying attention, dragging them to a watery grave. They have long hair, green skin, and long fingernails. If you're paying attention, you can hear them before they appear. Kalupalik make a distinctive humming sound. You may remember them from Skyrim, but real Scandinavian people have many different tales of the Draugr, the Again-Walker, or in modern terms, the Undead. There are differences between Sea Draugr and Land Draugr, but both are created more or less the same. If the body is in an upright vertical condition, it may come back from the dead. Also, any mean, nasty, or greedy person can turn into a Draugr upon death. Sailors or fishermen lost at sea can return as a Sea Draugr. They can change their size and are incredibly powerful and have magical powers, like controlling the weather or entering someone's dreams. It still looks familiar to the live human it was once, but the head is different. Some Sea Draugr have seaweed instead of a head. Some are totally headless. In Eastern Europe and in Russia, ponds and lakes can sometimes be the home of the Vodyanoi. They look like frog-faced old men, two eyes burning like hot coals, webbed hands, and they walk around covered in algae or dressed weird. The Vodyanoi aren't a threat unless you disrespect their territories. They usually spend all day smoking their pipes, playing cards, or just sitting by the water. When they get angry, they drown people and animals, break dams and water mills. To appease him, fishermen, millers, and beekeepers make offerings to him. For example, tobacco. The oceans around Japan are home to the umibazu, water spirits that don't like to be bothered. If they are angry, they will capsize the vessel of anybody who dares speak to them. They have a gray, cloud-like torso, serpentine limbs, and a large round head, resembling the shaved head of a Buddhist monk. That is why it is believed that they are the spirits of drowned monks. Also, in Japanese tradition, it is said that the souls of the people who have no one to look after their graves take refuge at sea. The Jormungandr, or the Midgard serpent, is the middle child of giantess Angerboda and Loki. Odin, god of gods, took Loki's three children, the wolf Fenrir, Hel, and Jormungand, and threw the serpent in the great ocean that surrounds Midgard. It grew so large that it managed to surround the earth and grab its own tail. Thor, the thunder god, is the arch-enemy of Jormungand, and it is said that when the serpent releases its tail, Ragnarok, or the end of the world, will begin. The bishop fish, or the sea bishop, was a sea monster from the 16th century. One was found and it was taken to the King of Poland, who wanted to keep it. It was also shown to some Catholic bishops. The fish gestured towards the bishops, wanting to be released. It was let go, and after making the sign of the cross, it disappeared into the sea. I'm guessing that's how it got its name. Another one was supposedly captured in Germany in 1531. But it died after refusing to eat for 3 days. It was described and pictured in Conrad Gessner's famous zoology encyclopedias, Historia Animalium. Not exactly a water creature, but it was a deadly threat to those traveling at sea. Sirens were dangerous monsters that lured sailors and ships with their enchanting voices, causing them to shipwreck on the rocky coast of their island. The Greeks and Romans were terrified of them. Part woman, part bird. They played a variety of musical instruments, especially the harp. It is said that Ulysses was so curious as to what exactly made the siren's song so enchanting, so he ordered his sailors to plug their ears with beeswax, tie him to the ship's mast, and leave him there. No matter how much he begged, upon hearing their beautiful song, Ulysses went mad and screamed to be released. His men tied him even tighter until they passed out of earshot and their song could no longer be heard. It is said that the sirens were fated to die if anybody listened to their song and escaped. And after Ulysses left, they flung themselves into the ocean and perished. The hippocampus, or seahorse, was a creature half horse, half fish. Melkart, the patron god of the Phoenician city of Tyre, used to ride a winged hippocampus. It was also accompanied by dolphins. Poseidon was the god of horses, earthquakes, and the sea. He also used to ride hippocampi, or ride in a carriage pulled by them. The indigenous people of the Amazon tell tales of the Yakaruna, water people similar to human beings that live in beautiful underwater cities, often at the mouths of rivers. They are described as hairy beings with their heads turned backwards and having deformed feet. During the day, they sleep on the bottom of the rivers and lakes, and at night they roam the Amazon riding a crocodile as a canoe and use a boa snake as a necklace. The Yakaruna can communicate and have control over the animals of the rainforest, and it is said that they can transform into the Amazon river dolphin, which is attracted by the blood in menstruating women. Once the woman is found, it transforms into a handsome man and seduces the woman, using aphrodisiacs to kidnap her and bring her to his underwater kingdom. With time, she gradually starts resembling her captor. Once the transformation of a human into Yakaruna is complete, it is irreversible and they can never go back home. The Loch Ness Monster, or Nessie, is a creature inhabiting the Loch Ness Lake in the Scottish Highlands. It is probably one of the most famous lake monsters, and it is reported as being very large in size, with a long neck and humps protruding out of the water. The first sighting was in the 6th century AD when Irish Saint Columba met with a group of people burying a man near River Ness. One of the men was swimming, and a water beast grabbed him and dragged him underwater. When the beast returned for one of Saint Columba's men, he drove the creature away by making the sign of the cross and commanding the creature to leave. As the years passed, many more people reported seeing a strange creature in the lake, and the Loch Ness Monster first gained worldwide attention with the now famous Surgeon's photograph that shows a serpent-like creature sticking its head out of the water. Some say the Loch Ness Monster is either a myth or just a hoax. Others say that Nessie is in fact an ancient plesiosaurus. If you take a walk along the shores of New England or Iceland, you might see one of the Selkie, or seal people, a race of beings that live as seals in the water and shed their skins to become humans on land. The male Selkie are supposed to be very attractive and have great seductive power over human women. Female Selkies are said to be excellent wives, and they can be forced to remain humans by stealing their skin and hiding it. Without it, the Selkie can never return to the sea. Nymphs are divine spirits, often found in forests and mountains, near the place they are bound to, like rivers or lakes. They look like very beautiful women, but are in fact deities, creatures that animate nature and look after it, keeping it in balance. They are not malevolent spirits, but the opposite in fact. They love to sing and dance and are beloved by many. Not all water spirits are as harmless and beloved as the nymphs. In Scotland, the Augiski is an evil shape-shifting creature that usually takes the form of a horse or a pony. If anybody mounts the Augiski while in horse form, he is safe as long as they stay on land. However, at the mere sight or smell of water, the horse's skin becomes adhesive and he goes to the deepest part of the water. The victim can't escape it and drowns. The Augiski then tears him apart, devouring his entire body except for the liver, which floats back to the surface. Near the coast of Norway and Greenland lives a giant monster that has been the stuff of nightmares for anybody who dared venture out to sea. For centuries, the Kraken has been one of the most terrifying creatures that inhabit the ocean. It is a huge octopus-like creature. It attacks anyone who disturbs its waters, from fishing boats to large ships. There is no way to escape its tentacles, which they use to embrace a whole ship, crushing it and pulling it deep underwater. Even the Antarctic can be home to sea monsters, as is the case with the Ningen. Scientists and whale ships often see these creatures swimming in the icy waters of the Southern Ocean. Witnesses describe them as having a human-like shape with arms, legs, and 5-fingered hands. Completely white in color, they can reach a length of 20 to 30 meters, and their only facial features are its eyes and mouth. The Ningen rarely surface, and they can mostly be seen at night, which makes it very difficult to photograph them. Of course, you've heard of mermaids, or their male counterparts, the mermen. They have the upper body of a human and the tail of a fish. They have been sighted since the times of the Assyrians. Even Christopher Columbus saw them during his exploration of the Caribbean. Mermaids are associated with floods, drownings, and shipwrecks. Although they are not necessarily evil, sometimes they do good, teaching them hidden knowledge or falling in love with humans. Some say they are just manatees or stingrays. Until we actually find one, there's plenty of stories about mermaid to read.
You've likely seen random photos online of this atrocity and may have dismissed them as being photoshopped, but the photos are real and the blobfish actually does look like this. But here's the catch, it only looks like this out of water.